Hello class 7 students, welcome back to the computer class. Today we are going to start chapter 7 loops in QBasic. Learning outcomes. After you have studied this lesson, you will be able to know about loops, use the different kinds of loops. About loops. Many machines do their work by using repeated motion, cycles, etc. The engine in a car performs the same motions over and over again as it burns gasoline to provide power. Electric motors are similar. They convert electric powers into spinning motion. Both of these machines are useful because they do the same thing over and over and keep going. Computer programs also use cycles. Much of the usefulness of computer software comes from doing things in cycles. In programming, cycles are called loops. When a program has a loop in it, some statements are done over and over as long as it needed to get the work done. Most computer programs execute millions of program statements each time they are used. Most of these statements are the same statements being executed many times. Loops are meant for the repetition of a particular activity. Loops include certain series of instructions which are to be repeated for a particular number of times as till the conditions are satisfied. A loop is thus used to repeat a block of statements specific number of times. The following are the loops available in QBasic. For, next, do while loop, while went. Note: the for statement is best used to perform a loop a specific number of times. The do while and the while went statements are best used to perform a loop undetermined number of times. Let's start with for next loop. For next structure is used when you want to perform a loop a specific number of times. It uses a counter variable which is incremented or decremented with each repetition of the loop. In this image, you can see the syntax of the for next loop. See here, for counter variable is equals to start value to end value, step value, statement 1, statement 2, next counter variable. The explanation of the syntax is given below. For statement is the beginning of the loop. Start value is the initial value of the counter underscore variable. End value is the value that the counters underscore variable must exceed to exit the loop. Step value is the amount by which the counter is changed each time through the loop. Next statement is the end of the loop. Note: step statement is given to specify the step value. If not specified, step defaults to 1. This value can be either positive when counter increases or negative when counter decreases. After all the statements in the loop have been executed, step value is added to the counter. At this value point, either the statement in the loop execute again based on the same text that caused the loop to execute initially, or the loop is exited and execution continues with the statement following the next statement. In this image, you can see a sample program 1 to print numbers from 1 to 5. The input and the corresponding output for sample program 1 are given here in these images. Sample program 2 to display even number between 1 to 10. The input and the corresponding output for the sample program 2 are given in the figure. If you want to create a countdown loop when the number is decremented with each loop, simply use a negative step value as shown in the following example. Sample program 3 to display countdown from 10 to 1. The input and the corresponding output for sample program 3 are given here. Note: in a decrement loop, the starting number is greater than the ending number. Do while loop. Do while loop performs as long as the condition being tested is true. It means that the statements written with while do loop will be repeated till the condition is true. Every do while loop ends with the loop statement before the loop is ended. The counter variable must be incremented or decremented to avoid an infinite loop. A counter variable is used to control execution of a do-while loop. It increments/decrement each time through the loop and is tested in the loop expression. A counter is good to use when you specifically know how many times you need to execute the loop. For example, in do-while loop, in sample program 1, count is used as a counter. Syntax: do-while, test condition, statement 1, statement 2, loop. Do until loop. Did you know? When the step value is missing in a do-while loop statement, then it results in an infinite loop. Do until loop. Do until is different from do while as it executes the statement until the condition is true. In other words, it executes the statement if the condition is false and it exits the loop if the condition is true. Syntax: do until, test condition, statement 1, statement 2, loop. Let us write a sample program using do until loop. Sample program 4 to print number 1 to 9. The input and the corresponding output of the sample program 5 are given here. 10 is not printed in this program as the statements gets executed only till the condition is false. As soon as the value of count becomes 10, statement is true and the loop ends. While when loop. The purpose of do loop and while when is similar except for the syntax. If the condition is placed at the end of the loop is executed at least once. Syntax: while, test condition, statements, when. Sample program 5. To generate multiples of 5 from 5 to 50, the input and the corresponding output of sample program 6 are given here. Exit command. Exit command is used to come out of the loop before the expected number of executions. Exit command is used followed by either for or do. Sample program 6. To exit after 3 while printing 1 to 5. The input and the corresponding output of sample program 7 are given here. Quick recap. Loops are meant for the repetition of a particular activity. Loops include certain series of instructions which are to be repeated for a particular number of times or till the conditions are satisfied. The for next structure is used when you want to perform a loop a specific number of times. It uses a counter variable which is incremented or decremented with each repetition of the loop. A do-while loop is performed as long as the condition being tested is true. Do-until loop is different from do-while as it executes the statement until the condition is true. The purpose of do loop and while when is similar except for the syntax. To come out of a loop before the expected number of executions, exit command is used, followed by either for or do. Moral learned. It is considered as one of the simplest programming languages for beginners to learn. In addition, it is ideal for both mathematical and business problem solving, and the majority of microcomputers have implemented this. QBasic is a substitution of the GW Basic, that is Greg Witten Basic. Thank you class. Let's meet again in the next chapter.